So welcome back. So we'll carry on the same chapter, opportunity identification, and to remind you, the opportunity identification is the precursor of the formal product development process. Yeah. So let's get started. So these are the 6 steps that one should follow, or better, the author recommends. The first step is establish a charter, and the second step is generate and sense many opportunities. Third step is screen opportunities. Fourth step is develop promising opportunities. Fifth step is select exceptional opportunities, and the final step, sixth step, is reflect on the results and the process. So now we will go on describing each step in more detail. So the first step is establish a charter. So simply speaking, charter is basically it articulates the goals of the opportunity identification process, and the more specifically the boundary condition of innovation effort. Like, okay, so our focus is that, and we will not take this problem as a huge problem or like a very broad scope thing that that we want to do, because it's so much a complex process that or not complexity from the point of view of it's a very broad spectrum. Like, okay, so for example, in a certain company you want to develop a certain product, so now it's a very broad aim. So charter is basically sets some sort of a condition and narrow down the goals. Actually, for example, I can give you an example. So the good thing about the book, that from where I'm generating this content, is they in each chapter they bring out the real life example of certain company doing certain product development and all these things. So in this case, for Licat, and they had so as I explained the last week also, they had basically a very successful product, which basically is a toy for cats to play with. And that's basically use laser, so something like that. So, and from that experience and from the market, the distributor network that they had generated, from using that they want to come up with the next product. So for example, the charter of the next product that they are trying to generate for so is like this: create a physical product in cat toy category that we can launch to the market within about a year through our existing retail sales channel. So here you can see they are narrowing down thing, because first of all they have a limited time, and that's all in all sort of businesses that is the case. So they are saying, first of all, narrowing down, or the condition they are setting that we want to launch it within 1 year, and then other aspect is, okay, so you can use the existing retail sales channel. So from that they will, so these two things narrow down the goals, and that is and that is important. So that's all about the charter. Very simple, but I think that is very much intuitive and effective to start with, because otherwise any problem will look, or any product development problem or endeavor will look very broad and very I would say very challenging. Mind you, this whole process, you are saying we are seeing established charter as a step, but then all these 6 steps will lead to something which will again is something like a narrowing down into some thing on the paper, which will be used in the formal product development process, the formal step by step, I think 6 or 8 processes that we describe in last chapter. I think last maybe, in first chapter maybe, I don't remember. But so we are doing double level thing, like so established charter is like a more doing a funneling thing for something, for a whole thing which is actually acts as a funnel to other more formal process, which is product development. So yeah. Now the second step is generate and sense many opportunity. Before we start, one would need to understand that it was reported in some paper that that half of the ideas in generally originates from within the company, not like you can say that it's how that study is performed, but assuming that those studies had been performed in correct way or unbiased way, it is an interesting statistics that almost half of the ideas actually comes from company, and that's a good insight that because one might think that these ideas can be floated around here and there, but then it's not like being smart to come up with the idea, but rather to comprehend the complexity, and that can only be done in a certain corporation where not just by individual but by a lot of people working together, and that only happen in some corporation, like some company, private or public company, whatever it is. Now here in the bar chart we can see, and that is from the same article, and where they had shown that the internally generated constitutes 46% from customer. It means basically some customer review or something, maybe, who knows, like, so I haven't read that paper specifically. So, and then competitive product, so you see the other company, what are their products is, and sales force, and then university, that's an interesting thing. University in generally are more of a proof of concept research, they are in the cutting edge sort of thing, and or I would say not cutting edge, but rather on the fundamental side, even in the application or engineering research, those are more of a fundamental research in that sense, away from the applicative sense, but rather focus on something proof of principle that this thing works. So, and then then when the professors write papers, so they say that this can have this implication, etc., etc. So that's the way they sell their ideas in the journal, actually. So that's also some sort of product generation. One can say that, because writing a paper and planning the research itself is a product development sort of process, So independent inventor, that there are a lot of example of it, and distribution partners, and other partner company, supplier, etc., etc. So, but important is 46% of that comes from internally generated source. Means from within the company. And now we will look into how to generate the idea. Okay, so we have the chartered, some chartered statement that this is what roughly goal, and these are the boundaries we want to follow, and that will also going to help us. But how to generate idea, and that is itself is a very tedious task, and I would say that it's too abstract and too many degrees of freedom for a lot of us and a lot of normal people like us, and also it's very unstructured, and maybe for very gifted people, they can have they can process things and they can have a good intuition, and with gifted as well as like people with good huge amount of experience, they can really come up with interesting idea without following some structured pattern. So but for normal people or people who are starting, for them they can follow certain structure, lot of steps within. I mean, again, we are talking about 6 steps, but here we will be dividing more into the various steps or various activity that one can do to come up with these new ideas. Okay, so the first thing that, these are not like the executed task that you are supposed to do, but more of a general thing, and you can pick whatever you like from here. So first suggestion is follow a personal passion. List your passions, endeavors that keep you awake with excitement, and then consider how emerging technologies, trends, and business model might influence them. Or identify unmet need that you have in connection with personal interest. Um, yeah, so that's so there are a lot of example, like a lot of not like for big complex products, but more of a simple product. There are a lot of people, they have the garage, not for the car or various other things, and they do innovate small do innovation they do in those garage. So that's what it was talking about. So it depends on the product, so I would just listen to it, and maybe uh, doesn't fit with a lot of other thing. Just a point that the author is raising. Second point the author is saying is compile bug list. So successful innovators are often chronically dissatisfied with the world around them. They notice unmet needs for the user, including themselves. Uh, List every annoyance or frustration you encounter over a period of days or weeks, and then pick the most universal and vexing ones and dream up solution. Any problem is an opportunity. An annoyance that gives birth to the opportunity doesn't have to be your alone. Instead, you might find it through customer complaints or market research. A powerful way to understand others' annoyance is to immerse yourself in the world of people using your product or service. Third is pull opportunity from capability. This is something I think we should be very focused on this topic. So there are theories of competitive advantage abound, but most spring from the idea that firms achieve above average profits by exploiting unique resources. Resources, an umbrella term, includes capabilities, core competencies, and competitive advantage. To provide advantage, a resource must be valuable, then it has to be rare, and it has to be inimitable. That means you can't imitate it, and then non-substitutable. So valuable means basically to be valuable, a resource must be either allow a firm to achieve greater performance than competitors or reduce a weakness relative to competitor. Rare means basically given competition, a valuable resource must be rare. Imitable basically means for value and rarity to persist, a resource must not be easily imitated. Non-substitutable, even if valuable, rare, and imitable, a resource providing advantage cannot be easily substituted. Like some different product meeting the same requirement, sort of thing. So this is called VRIN, and we will discuss it in more detail in next week's video with the exercise, because this is something we can this is something we should be very focused, because for people like us, I think these are interesting. This perspective, abbreviated as VRIN, can be used to define targets by first articulating an inventory of resources and then using inventory as a lens for opportunity generation. For example, Apple Inc. VRIN resources, for example, might include excellence in industrial design, a leading brand, and a loyal customer base. Each of these resources can guide the opportunity creation process by reformulating them as a challenge. For example, in what other product category might Apple's design excellence create advantage? For example, in what other product categories might Apple's design excellence create advantage? For which product or service category could the Apple brand be deployed to advantage? What other product or service could Apple provide to its customer base? So these are questions that one can ask. I mean, not like in, as an exercise. And yeah, so this gives a very interesting idea that one can, even for like academic people looking into research ideas, so they can also think in this framework: valuable, rare, immutable, and non-substitutable. And that will be a very good exercise in the literature survey, when they are trying to think, I want to do this thing, and I want to see this beyond generating just a journal paper, but rather some IP, and I want to continue with that. So all this need is some background study, and when we are doing literature study, this should be a framework to go for, I would say. So now next thing is called study customer. So customers means one can always study the customer, and that will always give you some insight about the what are the latent needs, and mind you, generally the companies do some survey or something like that, and there is a scientific way of doing survey and all this thing, but then there are pitfall in it also. Like, doesn't mean that what the customers are saying, you should interpret those things just by words, but rather you need to do some in-depth analysis also. And sometimes they say that you need to understand the customer's next need, and they can't say that this is what they need, but then you have to imagine that actually. So next thing is imitate but better. This may be a little bit weird, but there are a lot of interesting examples where they are just those products are actually are not really for example, Starbucks. So what they do is not like their coffee is the excellent or something like that. There are similar coffee being served, let's say, before the idea of Starbucks and all this thing, but then they have a lot of innovation. Like, for example, they have different those cups, and people can go to office and don't be bothered about the spilling of coffee and etc. etc. So those are small innovation, but then those become so important and become so popular. So sometimes packaging also and various other things also becomes important in the product development. And finally, of course, you need to do specific tasks like mine your sources. So basically, if you're a big corporation, then there will be a lot of data that had been collected in, let's say, previous product, whatever the product that had been already launched and etc. So that really can be the starting point. For example, one is the lead user. Users are the people or firms that have advanced needs that may not be met by existing product or services. Lead users must either tolerate their unmet need or innovate themselves to address them. Many devices and procedures in healthcare were invented by clinicians. For example, consider Dr. Lillian Aronson, a veterinarian at the University of Pennsylvania who performed feline liver transplants. Her procedure is relatively new, the market is small, and few existing surgical tools fit the task. Dr. Aronson thus have to choose between ill-suited instruments and inventing her own. If she invents a useful device, she creates an opportunity for further innovation by an established firm. So lead users are those people who basically are independent inventors, and then company can join or collaborate with them and really come up with something interesting. Representation in social media, yeah, that's important. Universities and government laboratories, this is very important. Students, research staff, and professor continually pursue novel solution to vexing challenges. In many cases, the solution identified in universities and government laboratories can be commercialized by third parties, including existing companies and startups. Research universities and government laboratories have technology transfer organizations to facilitate this process. Online idea submission. For example, computer company Dell ran a website IdeaStorm for soliciting innovation opportunity for customers. So yeah, so these are like mine your sources mean basically recall that half of the product opportunity arises from sources inside an organization and about half comes from the outside source. As a result, you benefit from cultivating external sources of idea. You benefit from those sources include the following. So basically, lead users are basically the independent inventors. The representation of social media basically means there are a lot of ideas floating around in social media, and I think it depends on the product and type of product and etc. And then of course university core technology, high-tech technologies, basically specific technology there basically university and government laboratory become important because and that's why there are a lot of not maybe in India but in various other countries they have those various company basically they advertise they fund the lot of universities for the research grant, like I want to study this, and so they have this people from company and then people from the professors and their team, they work together maybe on a certain project for let's say 5 or 10 years, and they come up with all the funding comes from the company. So that's an usual thing in a lot of European countries and US and all this thing, and in India I think this is still not popular, I will say. Not popular to the extent that one would like to see. So so that's it about the second step, which was about idea generation, which was the you just pick a lot of things and set up that these are the ideas, and then you in the next step you will go and refine it actually. So so the next step is called screen opportunities, and the goal of screening is simply to eliminate opportunity that are highly unlikely to result in the creation of value, and to focus attention on the opportunity worthy of further investigation. The aim is not to pick the single best opportunity. Given many opportunity to be screened, the process must be relatively efficient, even at the expense of perfect accuracy. For this step, a very effective screening criteria is the holistic judgment by a group of individuals of whether or not the opportunity is worthy of a few days or weeks of additional investigation. But above all, two methods are effective approaches. Two methods are effective approaches to screening are web-based survey and workshop with multi-voting. So in web-based screening survey, can be simple as a listing of opportunity with short descriptions for which you ask respondents simply to indicate a yes or no vote on whether or not the opportunity deserves further investment. Alternatively, you can use 1 to 10 scale, which may be useful if you have a relatively small group of people voting. Also, you can also use an in-person workshop to evaluate opportunity in a format we have used frequently. Each participant presents one or more opportunities on the group. These presentations can be supported by a single slide, page, flip chart sheet. We strongly recommend that these presentations be limited to about 1 minute and that each presenter adhere to the same time limit and format. Following the presentation, you ask a group of raters to multi-vote on opportunity. With multi-voting, you display opportunity on pages or flip chart sheets posted on the walls of the room where you are conducting your workshop. Raters are given dots or other type of sticker to register their votes. They simply apply their sticker to the opportunity they favor. So that's the multi-voting thing. So these are the simple process, and I think for us, I think it doesn't too much matter, but I think as an information point of view, I just want to put this thing in the picture. Fourth step is to develop promising opportunities. Rarely does it make sense to bet on a single opportunity. Too much uncertainty clouds the prospects of success. After screening opportunities, the team should invest modest level of resources in developing a few of them. At a minimum, an opportunity passing the initial screen warrants an internet search for existing solutions and an informal discussion with a few potential customers. Some additional tasks that are often worth completing include customer interviews, testing for existing product, concept generation, quick prototypes, and estimates of market sizes and growth rates. You might invest a few days to a few weeks in each of the several promising opportunities. In developing promising opportunities, the goal is to resolve the greatest uncertainty surrounding each one at the lowest cost in time and money. One way to structure this step is to list the major uncertainties regarding the success of each opportunity, the task you could take to resolve the uncertainty, and the approximate cost of each task. Then perform the tasks that resolve the most uncertainty at the lowest cost. For example, an opportunity based on a clever concept might not be very valuable if a patent is unlikely. A cursory patent search takes just a couple of hours, and so that is a task that should be completed early in the process for developing the opportunity. So that is about the developing promising opportunity, which is basically comes after the third step, which is screening opportunity. Then more refining, the step is select exceptional opportunity. Once a handful of opportunity have been developed with modest investment of resources, enough uncertainty should be resolved in order to pick the exceptional few opportunities that warrant a significant investment in the product development. One specific approach used within the established companies is real win worth it method, developed originally by 3M. That must be some company maybe. Anyway, real win worth it summarizes the 3 questions an organization should attempt to answer when screening the opportunities. First question is the opportunity real? So is there a real market that you can serve with the product? Criteria here include market size, potential pricing, availability of technology, and the likelihood of the product can be delivered in the required volume at the required cost. Second question is, can you win with this opportunity? Can you establish a sustainable competitive advantage? Can you patent or brand the idea? Are you more capable of executing it than competitors? For example, do you have superior engineering talent in this field? Third question is the opportunity worth it financially? Do you have the resources needed? And are you confident that the investment will be rewarded with the appropriate return? So an entrepreneur starting a new business will use different criteria from those of an established company. For example, in addition to or Instead of real win worth it criteria, an entrepreneur might select opportunity based on the amount of capital required, the time required to get to the market, and the passion and excitement invoked by the opportunity. So that is the step 5. Okay, so that's it. Basically, that's it about the idea generation or opportunity identification process. Now, after you finalize the opportunity and then that idea goes through the product development and the product is launched and etc., and there is an exercise that one might need to do, and that is reflect on the result and the process. That means whether what I mean is basically it doesn't mean that means market success is not the only success criteria for the process. Some questions to consider in reflecting on the opportunity identification result and process are: how many of the opportunity identified came from internal sources versus external sources? Did we consider dozens or hundreds of opportunity? Was the innovation charter too narrowly focused? Yeah, that is important. Where our filtering criteria biased or largely based on the best possible estimates of the eventual product success? Are the resulting opportunity exciting to the team? So these are the question, and these answering that question or discussing on this question will help into to the next step of the next product development or product identification opportunity identification process. So yeah, so that's it about today's video and this week's video, and then next week we will discuss the exercise, an interesting exercise that